everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Catalina and I'm the person behind by Catalina Designs, and in this video we have a crochet tutorial. I'm really happy that I finally finished with writing the pattern, and now I can share with you how I made this blouse. Is actually the t-shirt that I'm wearing. It's called Lace Meadow Tee, and I'm super happy with how it turned out in the end, although at first I wanted to keep the front panel a bit shorter than the back panel, but in the end I ended up with being the same length, only that I let this slit on the side. And yeah, it has also the shaped shoulders with the back panel, but of course that you can keep it straight if you want. The back panel is worked bottom up, and then from the shoulders we are building up the front panel. I used to make this blouse or t-shirt. I used a 5mm crochet hook and a DK recycled cotton yarn. For the edges, I sized down the hook size. Depending on your tension, you can go down with one size or even two. You'll figure out while you will be working on the edges. With the sleeves, we are not doing anything, only measuring the sleeves and then working the same edging as we did for the collar and for the bottom hem. So it's pretty easy and pretty fast. The lace pattern, I think it's really beautiful, and I love it. So if you want to stay with me and see how I made this t-shirt and follow along with this tutorial, then be my guest. Let's get started. I will show you the stitch pattern for the back panel and for the entire t-shirt, working on a small sample. But you need to chain to start with a number of stitches that were written before this video. So you will need to start with a multiple of 8 plus 1 stitches. Because I'm working a size small, this means that I will start with 113 stitches. I will show you the first 2 rows that needs to be repeated, and then while we get up to the shoulder, we will start working together on the actual sample that I made, the actual t-shirt. So now we will chain a multiple of 8 plus 1. So this is the required number of stitches for this stitch pattern. I will suggest to use, at least for the first row, to use a stitch marker to mark the last stitch, because we are chaining at the beginning 6 stitches, which are the first 3 are counting as a first double crochet, and the next 3 are the separating chain. So this is the double crochet, and now I'm chaining 3 more stitches, so 6 in total. And then from the stitch marker, I'm counting 2 stitches and working into the third a single crochet. Then chain 1, skip the next stitch, and work a single crochet in next. Now we will chain 3 and skip the next 2 stitches and work a double crochet into the next. Chain 3, skip the next 2 stitches. We are starting now to work the pattern repeat, so we are skipping the next 2 stitches and work 1 single crochet. chain 1, skip 1 stitch and 1 single crochet into the next, chain 3, and we will repeat to the end of the row. So now again I will start with a single crochet and we will repeat to the end of the row. To finish the row, we will chain 3, skip 2 stitches and work 1 double crochet into the last stitch. Now we will start the second row, which will be the first row that we will be repeated. And you can start this row either with chain 4 and the first chain will count as a single crochet, or you can start with chain 1, 1 single crochet and then chain 3. Now we will work a double crochet into the first 1 chain space. Then chain 3 and into the chain stitch before the double crochet we will work 1 single crochet. You can work it under or right into the chain stitch. Then chain 1, skip the double crochet and work 1 single crochet into the stitch after the double crochet. Then chain 3 and work 1 double crochet into the next 1 chain space. And now we will repeat to the end of the row. At the end of the row, after working the last double crochet, we will chain 3 and go into the third chain and work a single crochet. And this is the first row from our repeated section. Now the second one, we will chain 6. First 3 chains are counting as a double crochet, and then we will go into the stitch before the double crochet and work a single crochet, chain 1, skip the double crochet and work a single crochet into the stitch after or space after. Then we will chain 3 and work a double crochet into the next 1 chain space. The stitches are worked into the same manner, only that they are intercalated, the motifs, and that is why it's looking that the row is different, but you will need to work the stitches into the same way. So where we have a double crochet on the previous row, we will work a single crochet, chain 1 and a single crochet, and into the chain 1 space we will work a double crochet. And these two, row number 2 and row number 3, we will repeat them until we will have 51 rows. Or if you want to adjust the length and make this a t-shirt longer or shorter, you can work as many rows as desired, but keep an uneven number of rows. After we completed the length up to the shoulder, now we can start working and shaping the shoulders, working a few short rows. There is a 2 rows pattern repeat for these short rows. At every 2 rows we will decrease at the beginning and at the end of the row with 1 pattern repeat. If you want, you can keep and repeat those 2 rows until you have the desired width of the neckline. So we will start with a single crochet into the first stitch, then chain 3 and work 1 double crochet into the next 1 chain space. Then chain 3 and work only 1 single crochet into the double crochet stitch. So we are not working 2 single crochet as usual into the pattern. Now we will work into the same stitch pattern until we reach the last double crochet, or the second to last, because we have the last stitch which will count also as a double crochet. Or if it's easier for you, we will repeat and work into this established pattern until we have 8 stitches left. Now it's not looking like we are decreasing, but with the next row we will decrease with that 1 pattern repeat. Now I am at the end of the row, and into the second to the last double crochet I will work a single crochet and then chain 3, work a double crochet into the 1 chain space, chain 3 and finish the row with a single crochet into the 3rd chain. Now we will turn, and this is when the actual decrease starts to take place, and we will start to slip stitch 9 stitches until we get on top of the single crochet, the first single crochet in the row. This will be 9 slip stitches. And when we are getting on top of the single crochet, right away, we will start our row as usual. So I will chain 6 and continue working into the stitch pattern until that last single crochet. Well, not last, second to last, because the last stitch is also a single crochet. So until this single crochet over here. So now we will just continue working into the same pattern to that single crochet. To finish the row, we will chain 3 and work 1 double crochet into that single crochet, and we finish the first 2 rows of our short rows or decrease pattern for the shoulders. So now we will keep repeating these 2 rows. For my size, I will work 8 in total, or you can repeat them until you have the desired neckline width. Now this is how it will look like. It will look like a stairway. So this is how your short rows will look along the shoulders. Don't worry, we will straighten this edge right away. So first, let's just finish this 8 rows, or the number of rows required for your size, and then we will start and starting to straighten these shoulder edges. Now we will continue to work these rows as they are, as I showed you before, is repeating the same 2 rows until you have the required number of rows for your size, or until you get to the desired neckline width. Now that we finished with the short rows, we need to straighten the shoulder edge, because now it's looking like having this stairways. We will cut the yarn right now, because I will start with the right shoulder first, and then we will work the left one. If you want, you can continue from where yarn is and start with the left shoulder. So now to straighten these edges, we will work 2 rows, one in single crochet and one in front post single crochet. And when we are passing that bridge to make the bridge between the short rows, we will work 2 stitches together, and I will show you right away. So first we will rejoin the yarn and we will single crochet into the first 7 stitches. We have 8 slip stitches over here, so until you have 1 left. It will be a bit difficult to get with the hook through those slip stitches. If you want, and it's easier for you, you can choose a different hook size, a smaller one. Maybe it will be easier to pass through those stitches, to get through those stitches. So we will single crochet, work 7 single crochet. And now when we got to the last one, we will work 2 stitches together with the last stitch from this section, and I yarn over to make the first leg of the 2 stitches together taller, and then you will insert the hook into the second chain or the first chain, however it feels natural for you, not to be too close or too apart. And this was the first 2 stitches together, and then we will do 1 more into the either the single crochet row or the 3rd stitch, and then into the top of the first stitch of the next section, the next short row. And now we will continue with the next 6 single crochet this time. So on the next section, because we already worked the first stitch, and we will have now to work 6 single crochet, and then we will repeat the same thing with those 2 stitches together twice to make the bridge between the short rows. Okay, so I'm trying to finish the first 6 single crochets. And now we will do the 2 stitches together, 1 leg with a yarn over into the last stitch of this section. Then insert the hook on the side of the next short row and work the 2 stitches together. And now again, yarn over, go either into the 3rd chain or the single crochet, and then on the top of the first stitch of the next section, of the next short row. And this is how is looking this edging so far. We will continue to work into the same way until we get on the top of the shoulder. After finishing the row, I still have the last 2 stitches together. You should have in total, well, I will have 33 single crochet, but depending on how many short rows you worked, you should have the number of pattern repeats that you decreased multiplied by 8 plus 1 stitches. So I had 4 pattern repeats that I decreased on this side. Multiplied by 8 is 32 plus 1 stitch is 33. And now we will chain 1 and turn, and we will work the second row of this edge into front post single crochet. So to work the front poses, we need to insert the hook around the single crochet from the previous row, from the front through the back. And we will continue to work this front post single crochets to the end of the row, and we will have the same number of stitches as before, in my case 33. This is how it's looking like on the front side, or on the right side. And we will continue to work this row. After finishing this row, we will start working right away, building the front panel, but we will work only into the shoulder stitches for the first 4 rows, because we want to lower the neckline into the front. For the sizes where you have a smaller amount of stitches for the neckline width, as is difficult to reach a bigger number because of the stitch pattern, you can work more rows for the front panel into these shoulder stitches to lower even more the front part of the neckline and give more room to the collar. So now we will start into the same stitch pattern as we worked until now. So the same stitch pattern we will start as we will be working into the foundation row, so the same as the first row of this back panel. So we will start with chain 6. Let's check it out which one was the first row, because yeah, we need to double check. So we will start by chaining 6. Then we will skip the next 2 stitches, and into the next we will work a single crochet, then chain 1, skip 1 stitch and work another single crochet into the next, chain 3, skip 2 stitches and work 1 double crochet, and we will repeat to the end of the row. Again, we are working only into the shoulder stitches. We will finish the row with chain 3, skip 2 stitches and 1 double crochet into the last stitch. And this was the first row of the front panel shoulder section. Now we will chain 1 and turn, and we will work the second row. And after working 4 rows only into the shoulder stitches, I will cut the yarn and start working on the second shoulder to straighten the shoulder and then to work this 4 rows. I know it involves a lot of cutting the yarn on this section, but it'll be worth it. If you find a different order to make the sections, then feel free to make them as you think. When I was working on this t-shirt, this is how the things were happening in my head. So now to straighten the second shoulder, we will rejoin the yarn into the top stitch next to the neckline. And we will start with those 2 stitches together because we need to make the bridge between the short rows. So now I'm starting with inserting the hook into the first stitch, then yarn over and go on the side of that stitch. And you can go again into the second stitch or into the first. Then I will yarn over and go into the next stitch on the side and then into the first stitch of the next short row. And after finishing the second 2 stitches together, we will continue to work single crochet stitches until the last stitch of this section. There will be 6 single crochet. And when we are getting to the last stitch, we will work those stitches together. So this is the last one, the 6th single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now I'm going into the last stitch of this section, then yarn over, going into the top of that side double crochet and finishing the 2 stitches together, then yarn over, going into the bottom of the double crochet and into the first stitch of the next short row. So it's kind of the same, only that it's in the mirror, it's reverse from the other shoulder. But now we will keep repeating the same thing. So after the 2 stitches together, we will work 6 single crochet and then again 2 stitches together twice until we get to the bottom stitch of that of this shoulder. Okay, so let's do the next section. And we will continue until we will get at the end of this shoulder, and we should finish with having the same 33 stitches as on the other side. Then we will chain 1 and turn and work the row in front post stitches. And after working and finishing this row, we will continue right away with the front panel, the section next to the neckline, working only into the shoulder stitches 4 rows. Now that we finished this row, we will chain 6 and turn and start working into the lace stitch pattern for the next 4 rows, only into the shoulder stitches. Okay, now that we finished the 4 rows, we will cut the yarn again, sorry for that. and then we will rejoin the yarn on the right shoulder. We will work into the established pattern until we finish the shoulder stitches, and then we will need to chain the required number of stitches to complete the front panel, and then continue with the other shoulder. We can count the stitch pattern repeat, how many we have on the back panel neckline, and then we will complete with that number of stitches. I will write them down on the screen right away. So first, let's just rejoin the yarn into the first stitch of the right front panel, and we will chain 6 and continue working into the same stitch pattern until we finish the shoulder stitches. Okay, so I will work the stitches up to the neckline. And then after finishing the shoulder stitches, we will need to chain. For my size, I will chain 47. The numbers that I'm giving you on the screen are related with how many patterns repeat will let for the neckline width. There are some sizes that, due to the stitch pattern repeat, it's the number of pattern repeats for the neckline, it's smaller than other sizes. If you decided to do it differently and you have a different number of pattern repeats on the neckline at the back panel, then you should chain the number of pattern repeats multiplied by 8 minus 1. And is minus 1 because we have 8 plus 1 stitches on each shoulder, and we don't need 8 plus 2. So we need to chain with 1 stitch less for the front panel. Now we will finish this row, and now we will chain 1, and we will continue to work into the stitch pattern until we will get to that chain in the middle, and over the chain we will work into continuing with the pattern as we will be working into the foundation, into a foundation chain row. And yeah, this is how we now completed the front panel stitches. So now I will go with 1 single crochet before the double crochet. I will skip the double crochet, and now I will go into the first stitch, so not skipping any, to continue with the stitch pattern. If at the end of the chain you get with more stitches or less, don't worry about it. You don't need to undo the entire thing. You just keep what you have and work the stitches as they are. It won't be a major problem. It will fix in the end. You just need to focus on continue the stitch pattern and make sure that at the end of the chain you are working the required stitch to be able to continue the pattern with the other shoulder. So now I will continue working the stitches, and at the end I need to finish this with a single crochet. So I will go with a single crochet into the stitch before the double crochet, then chain 1, skip the double crochet, and work a single crochet after the double crochet. And after we finish this row, we need to go and continue working for the length of the front panel, and we need to have the same number of rows as for the back panel, but counting from the neck. Now I will finish working this row. and a single crochet into the third chain. And we will turn and continue into the established stitch pattern. I will have 59 rows to work. When you're counting the front panel stitches, you're counting from the shoulder. And if you want to check with the back panel rows, you need to count from the neckline. I am double checking to see how many rows do I have for the back panel. So I will work in total 59 rows, or as many rows as you worked for the back panel, again counting from the neckline. And we will continue to work like this, and after we finish with the front panel length, we have one more row to work to make that edge straight, because now it has a bit of bumps due to the chain 3. So I will start with a single crochet, because this is how my row is right now. Then chain 3 and go with a double crochet into the next one chain space, and then chain 3, and we will work only one single crochet into the double crochet. So what we are doing now is making sure that we are working 8 stitches, a multiple of 8 stitches. Now I will chain 3, go with a double crochet into the next one chain space, chain 3, and go with a single crochet into the next double crochet. And we will continue like this to the end of the row. After finishing this row, we will continue with the bottom hem edging of the front panel. So we will chain 1, and we will start working in single crochet stitches. You can see that by the time I was filming this, I was already working the neckline is worked already, edging, but I will show it to you right away, don't worry. So now we will simply work with one single crochet into each stitch. I switch with a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. This will make it easier to go with the hook through the chain stitches and not under, because in this way the edging will look cleaner and nicer and neater. But of course, if you want, you can go under the stitches as well. And we will continue to work in single crochet, so one single crochet in each stitch to the end of the row. Then we will chain 1 and turn, and we will work front post stitches. Now it's kind of similar with the shoulder edging. Of course, for this bottom hem edging, if you want to work in a different stitch pattern, you are welcome to do it. I just wanted to follow the same structure as for the shoulders. So now we will just work one front post single crochet in each stitch. After finishing this front post stitch row, we will chain 1 and turn and work one more row in single crochet. And we will repeat the same edging for the back panel bottom as well. So we will work the same 3 rows there with 1 row in single crochet, 1 row in front post, single crochet, and another row in single crochet. Here with the edges, if you feel like they are going, I think mine is because of the yarn is the same, because of the structure of the yarn, and I was feeling like there are a bit of waves around my edging. So in the end, I decided to work another row in slip stitches, but I will show it to you right away. So now I will continue to work the same for the back panel. So for the back panel, we will repeat the same 1 row in single crochet, back post single crochet, and another row in single crochet. Okay, we finished the edging for the back panel as well. Now we can cut the yarn. And now we will work the collar. First, we will start with 1 row only on the back panel to straighten the edge. The same as we did on the front panel, if you remember, but we will make it as a continuous round. So make sure you're rejoining the yarn on the front side, on the right side of your work. So next to the right shoulder. We will reconnect the yarn there. Work 1 single crochet, then chain 3 and go into the next 1 chain space and work 1 double crochet. Then chain 3, go into the next double crochet and work a single crochet. And we will repeat the same until we get next to the other shoulder. Yeah, and now it's looking like it's straight. And when we got to the other shoulder, we will chain 3 and we will work the single crochet, or I think it's better to go with the slip stitch, and we will continue with the collar edging from here. So now chain 1, work a single crochet, and continue to work single crochet stitches all around. When we are working into the side rows, the 4 rows that we have next to the neckline from the front panel, we will work 2 single crochet into a double crochet or chain 3 side row and 1 single crochet into the single crochet side row. So we will have 3 single crochet at every 2 rows. If you feel like because it's depending on your tension as well, if you feel like you want to work more single crochet, then do so. As long as the single crochets are nicer, looking nice, they are close together, not too close, not at a big distance, then it's perfect. They need to have look like a nice single crochet row. When we are getting on the front, we are working 1 single crochet into each stitch. And for the collar edging, we will work the same 3 rows as for the bottom hem edge, and we will turn after each row because we want to make those front post stitches. And I tried to work on the right side only, working back post stitches instead of front post stitches, but I felt like it's not looking the same. So I will turn after each row, but again, if you want to work a different color edging, then feel free to do so. So now we will continue to work the single crochet row until we meet the first single crochet that we did. Also, we will work the back panel stitches into the same row, even if we start with that row to straighten it when we started to work at the collar. We won't count that one as being part of this row. Now we will finish the row. To close the round, we will slip stitch into the first single crochet. Again, you can switch to a smaller hook size while you start working on the next row, and even for the first one, especially if you find that it's easier to work through the stitches, then it's okay to work with a smaller hook size. Now I'm working actually the back panel stitches. As I said, we will continue to work on top of them as into the same single crochet row. So we are not starting another row from the right side of the back panel. And now we will slip stitch with the first single crochet, and I will switch with a smaller hook size with a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook, chain 1, and we will turn our work. And now we will work front post single crochet stitches into every stitch all around. And then we will work one more row in single crochet, again turning after finish this front post stitch round. After finishing the last round in single crochet stitches, we will slip stitch into the first single crochet, and then we can cut the yarn, or if you want, you can work an extra round in slip stitches to add more texture or structure to this neckline. This is just optional. I don't think it's really necessary, but if you want that edging of the collar to be more solid, then you can add a slip stitch round. Now with the sleeves, we want to first, before assembling, to mark the sleeves, the armhole depth. The first thing that we need to do, because the back panel is a bit lower than the front panel, at least with the shoulder seam, and we need to make sure that our bottom edges is right one on top of the other. And then with a measuring tape, we are roughly marking the armhole depth that we desired. I will use a stitch marker to place it at 17 centimeters, but this is not done. We need to count the rows on the back panel and on the front panel and make sure that we have the same number of rows. For the sleeves, this will be different on the back and on the front if you are counting from the shoulder seam, but for the side edges, the length from the armpit to the bottom needs to have the same number of rows. And you need to pay attention because front panel and back panel are worked in opposite direction, so make sure that you're counting the rows right. After you count it and you make sure that you have the same number of rows, if you want to let the side slit, then you can count from the bottom the number of rows that you want to let for the slit, and make sure that you have the same number of rows for the other side. Now for my size, I had 36 rows up to the armpit, and I will let eight rows for the slit. Now I'm double checking again to make sure that I have the same number of rows for the front panel and back panel, the length from the armpit to the bottom. Make sure that you're counting the double crochet side edge and the single crochet side edge to make sure that you have the same number of rows. And then we will use for joining, we will use a combination of slip stitches and chains, and you will need to count the side rows as stitches, 2 stitches for every double crochet row, side row, and 1 stitch for the single crochet row. After I place the stitch marker at the armpit, and I'm sure that I have the same number of rows, now I will mark the 8 rows that I want to let for the slit opening, and we will start joining the side edges. Here I will place my crochet hook because this is where I will start the joining from, and on the other side I will put a stitch marker. To make it easier for you with the joining, of course, if you're using the same method, because you can use any method that you want and feel comfortable with, it is easier if you're using stitch markers, because you will skip 1 stitch in between the stitches, and it will be easier if you will mark that stitch. So now I will rejoin the yarn into the bottom stitch, and I will chain 2. So chain 2, and then I will go on the other side into the corresponding stitch and work a slip stitch. Now I will chain 2 again. On the other side I have this top of the double crochet, which I will skip, and I will go into the bottom of the double crochet and work a slip stitch. Now I have my next stitch. Here is a single crochet. I'm going into the other side after chaining 2, and I have a single crochet row, well, the 3rd stitch, and I will go into the single crochet row and work a slip stitch. And now you can use stitch markers to make it easier for you, and mark the stitch that you will need to skip, because the stitches are not the same. So if you had on the back panel a double crochet side row, you won't have a 3 chain side row on the other side. So now I'm marking the bottom of the double crochet, and this is how I will know that I will need to skip that marked stitch when I'm getting on that side. So now I chain 2, and I'm going into this side. I mark the stitch that I need to skip, and I'm going into the next one, always counting the stitches as top double crochet, bottom double crochet, single crochet round. So these are 3 stitches, and if you have a chain 3, you will have the first chain, 3rd chain, and then single crochet. And now I'm always marking the stitch that I will have to skip, and I will go chain 2, slip stitch on one side, chain 2, slip stitch on the other side. And we will repeat the steps until we will get to the armpit. Now I didn't put a stitch marker, but I'm kind of used with how the stitches are laying. So here I will skip the top stitch and I will go into the bottom. And we will continue like this until we will get to the armpit. And then after getting to the armpit, we will be able to work right away the sleeve because we are with the hook there and we can work the sleeve edge. Okay, I am now at the armpit and I can start working on the sleeve edge. First I chain 2 to finish this joining, so I will go with a slip stitch into that last marked stitch, and now I will chain 1 and start right from here and work the first round in single crochet. And I will keep the same proportion. I will work 2 single crochet into each double crochet or chain 3 side row and 1 single crochet into the single crochet side row. I am using the same 4.5mm crochet hook. And we will work the edges, the sleeves edging the same as we did for the collar and for the bottom hem. 1 row in single crochet, then we will turn and we will work 1 round in front post single crochet, and then we will turn again and work another round in single crochet. Of course, if you want to work a different edging, then you are free to go for it. Now I will slip stitch into the first single crochet and turn, and we will work the other 2 rounds that we have. Okay, I finished with the sleeve. Now I will slip stitch and cut the yarn. And now we will repeat the same on the other side. Make sure that you have the same number of rows from armpit to the bottom as on this side, and then again to have the same number of rows for the slit. And now we will work the slit edging because we need to work this one too. So I will start on the right side and we will work 2 rows this time. We will work 1 row in single crochet and 1 row in front post single crochet. I'm starting on the right side, and because we are working into the side rows, we will keep the same, working 1 single crochet into each single crochet side row and 2 single crochet into the double crochet side row. When we are getting at the edging, we will work 1 single crochet into each of the side rows of the edging. We had 3 rows over there, so we will have 3 more stitches to work across the edging. So now we will go with single crochet stitches to the bottom, And then after finishing this row, we will chain one and turn and work front post single crochet stitches until we are getting to the end. After getting at the end, I'm working the last single crochet over here. And now we will slip stitch into those 2 chains of the joining to make sure that this slit edging is connected with that part of the joining. And now after finishing this row, if you want and you want to keep the same pattern for this slit edging as for the other edging, you can chain one and you can turn actually, because we did already the slip stitches, and work one more row in single crochet. Okay, and now we can cut the yarn, and then we will work the other side of the slit. If you don't feel comfortable to make those slip stitches, you can always connect those edging with the joining while you're weaving in the ends. So now we will start working on the other side. We will do the same 3 rows on the other side of the slit. Okay, so reconnect the yarn into the bottom stitch, chain one, and then we will single crochet up to the joining. Keeping the same 1 single crochet into the single crochet side rows and 2 single crochet into the double crochet or chained 3 side rows. When we got to the end, we will do the same slip stitch with the joining. I will do 2 over here and then turn without chaining any stitch, and we will turn and start working the front post stitches. Make sure that you're slipping the 2 slip stitches that we did. I started with a single crochet into the first stitch and then front post single crochet around each stitch to the end of the row. I finished the front post stitch row and then I turned and worked 1 more single crochet row, and now I will slip stitch with the other edge to just connect these 2 pieces together. And all what we did on this side, we will repeat on the other side with the joining, with the sleeve edging, and with the slit edging. And then after finishing that side as well, we will need to weave in all the ends and block this blouse to measurements. If you want, as I said, you can add an extra round in slip stitches I did that on the bottom edging and on the collar, and I will show you right away how it's looking and how you can do it as well. For these slip stitches, I used a smaller hook size of 4mm, but pay attention to your tension. If your slip stitches are too tight, then better to use the same hook size that you use for the other rows of the edging. And now, because I decided to make the slip stitch row at the end, I didn't continue the edging with this row. That's why I was telling you while you were working on the bottom edge. But this wasn't a bad thing, because now I can work these slip stitches over the edging of the slit as well. So I reconnected the yarn. I'm working on the right side, and I will go into each stitch and work a slip stitch. And we will continue like that to the end of the row. And with this step, this will be the last one that I will be making for this blouse. Then I will have to weave in all the ends, and I will block this blouse to measurements. For the blocking, I just washed the blouse into the washing machine using a delicate program, or a program for delicate clothes, and then laying down flat to dry. I hope you liked this tutorial. I hope you'll try to make this t-shirt. It's a pretty fast project, and don't worry if you don't want it to be that oversized. You can always make a gauge swatch and then adjust the number of stitches according to your bust width, desired bust width. So this can be done and customized pretty easy. Also, if you want to work it shorter or longer, you can work the back panel before starting with the short rows. You can work more rows or less rows depending on your wishes. So you can transform it into a dress, into a cover up if you want it to look pretty nice in the summer with this lace stitch pattern. So don't worry, just start building up with the back panel, and when you feel like you have the desired length, then you can start working the short rows. And with the front panel, you will have to count the number of rows that you work at the back. And starting with the neckline, yes, not with the shoulders, because we are making those decreases, and you keep up and work the same number of rows for the front panel. Also, if you want to lower the neckline a bit more, instead of 4 rows, you can work with 6. I will keep up with the same, for example, if I had an even number of rows, then go further but with an even number of rows, because it will be easier for you to follow along, because this lace stitch pattern has 2 rows repeat. So I hope that you'll find it really nice to make this blouse. It's pretty easy to wear in the summer, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So thank you so much for being here with me for another crochet tutorial, and see you next time. Bye!